Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Sabila Dea Pitaloka. My student number 21010500024, and let's learn some advanced English vocabulary from the New York Times newspaper. I was reading an article in the New York Times and I said to myself, my advanced students of English probably don't know many of these words, but they should, and I will teach them. We will read some short paragraphs together and I will explain the meaning of the difficult words and I will give you sample sentence of those words to make sure that you know how to use them in other situations. And then at the end of the video, I will show you a list of words that you learn and you will test yourself to see how many of them you remember. The article is from May 22nd, 2022. It's called "The Rules for Hybrid Work Were Always Made Up." I suggest that you read the rest of the article by yourself. The link to the article is in the description below. The article discusses the confusion the companies are now facing. They don't know if they should allow their employees to continue to work from home or if they should require them to go back to the office now that the COVID situation has improved. Many employees have gotten used to working from home and they prefer working from home as much as possible, and companies are trying to find a solution for this. Let's look at the first paragraph. A conundrum facing executives nationwide these days is one familiar to anyone who has ever planned a birthday gathering. It's really hard to get anybody to come to a party if everybody RSVPs maybe, said Zach Dunn, an expert on hybrid work and founder of the workplace management company Robin. Now, imagine that party involved with paychecks, bottom line, and a 10-year lease. A conundrum is a confusing or difficult problem or question. We can say we have not found a way to resolve the conundrum that we're facing. Or you can also say, I'm in a conundrum, and that means I'm in a difficult situation and I don't know what to do. I cannot find a solution. It's a conundrum. You probably know the meaning of RSVP, but just in case you don't, I will teach you. It's from French and it means please reply. You will see it at the bottom of invitation. For example, when people want to know if you are coming to their party and you need to let them know yes or no, you need to RSVP. So, in English, we use it as a verb please RSVP. We can also use it in the past tense. We can say, I RSVP'd yesterday. Don't forget to RSVP by Friday. Usually, people RSVP yes or no, but sometimes they RSVP with a maybe. They are not sure if they are coming, and that's what the article was talking about. When the companies were asking the employees, are you planning to come back to the office? Many of them are RSVP'd maybe. They are not sure because they are enjoying working from home. Let's look at the next expression, hybrid work. Hybrid means a mix, something that is composite of mixed parts. So, hybrid work means when people work from home and they also sometimes go to the office. They split their time, maybe 2 days a week in the office and 3 days at home. That's called hybrid work. And this way of working has become a lot more popular since the COVID pandemic. The next word is nationwide. If something is nationwide, it's happening in all parts of the country, everywhere in the nation. So we can say nationwide or we can say countrywide. And if something is happening everywhere in the city, we can say citywide. And if it's happening everywhere in the world, what do we say? We say worldwide. We can say police have launched a nationwide search, or the nationwide unemployment rate is increasing, or you can say it's a worldwide epidemic. The next expression is bottom line, and that means profit. The money a business makes, and more specifically, the bottom line is a company's income after all of the expenses have been deducted from the revenue. You can say a CEO decisions can have a big effect on the bottom line. Adopting this new technology will improve the bottom line. Let's look at the next paragraph. Those decisions have grown more complex in recent weeks as COVID cases surged and return to office plans lurched. Apple, for example, which has faced fierce internal oppositions to its RTO plan, told workers last week that the company was scaling its office requirement back from 3 days a week to an optional 2 days. Look at this word. How do we pronounce it? Do we stress in first syllable and say complex? Or do we stress in the second syllable and say complex? It depends on if it's a noun or if it's a verb. If it's a noun, we say complex, and a complex is a group of buildings. For example, you can say, I live in that apartment complex. But complex in adjective. If something is complex, it means it's difficult to understand. It consists of many different parts and it's complicated. It's an extremely complex subject. The next word is search. A search can be a noun or a verb to search, and it means a sudden and powerful upward movement or a big and sudden increase. You can say, for example, oil prices have surged or the company's profits have surged. The next word is to lurch. And to lurch is to move in a way that's not regular and not normal, especially if you're making sudden movements, backward and forward, or from side to side. You can say, as the car sped across a bumpy road and she lurched forward, or the train suddenly lurched. RTO simply means return to office. Let's look at that sentence again. Apple, for example, which has faced fierce internal opposition to its RTO plan, and that means the employees at Apple did not want to go back to the office. Let's look at the next expression. It's a phrasal verb, to scale back. To scale something back, and that means to reduce the size or amount of something. For example, you can say, in order to save money, we need to scale back on our purchases or the budget has been scaled back. Let's look at another paragraph from the article. RTO plans used to be held together with something like magic, or at least like math. 3 days in the office, the bulk of the work week, and 2 days at home. 3 days for that magical cafeteria banter. 2 days for pants that don't button. Now, forget it. The 3 2-week day RTO split like so many other aspects of office reopening plans has begun to seem less like gospel and more like gibberish. The next word is bulk, and that's a noun, and in the article they talk about the bulk of the week. And bulk means the majority in the greater part of something. So, if we talk about the bulk of the week, that means the majority of the week, maybe 3 or 4 days out of the 5 days, that would be the bulk. The next word is banter, and that's a noun, but it can also be used as a verb. To banter or we bantered. Banter is friendly conversation when you're making jokes with people or you're exchanging funny stories. You can say, for example, we bantered with our waitress, or I enjoy bantering with my college during our lunch break. Did you understand pants that don't button? That simply means casual pants like sweatpants, for example. Pants that don't actually have buttons. These are clothes that you wear at home and they are not your work clothes. They are not your work pants. The article talks about 3 days of cafeteria banter and 2 days working from home with pants that don't button. In the case, gospel means to believe something that is absolutely true when you don't doubt it. It's gospel. When people believe it's the rule and it's the truth, they use the expression gospel. And the second part of that sentence said, but now it's considered gibberish. Gibberish is something that does not have any meaning. It's nonsense. It's something that's confusing or meaningless. For example, you can say, you were talking gibberish in your sleep, or I don't understand anything. After a while, I stopped listening to his gibberish. Let's look at the final paragraph, and this one contains a quote. It's by a supervisor of a company talking about the hybrid work situation. For those who have not been to the office regularly yet, we understand that it might seem daunting, combined with the sense of comfort that has set in for many to work primarily from home. They wrote, yet we strongly believe the negatives of these realities are far outweighed by the magic of being together in person. Let's look at the word daunting. If something is daunting, it's frightening in a way that makes you feel less confident. You are worried about your ability to achieve something. For example, you can say, the job interview process can be daunting. The next expression is a phrasal verb, to set in. If something sets in, it begins and it feels like it's going to continue for a long time. For example, you can say, the rain season has set in. It has started to rain and we think it's going to keep raining for a long time. Let's look at the final word. It's a verb to outweigh. For one thing to be more valuable or more important than something else. So, A can outweigh B. My desire for success outweighs my fear of failure. Okay, now it's time to review the words that we just learned. I will show you the words on the screen one by one. Ask yourself, how many of these do I remember? Okay, here is the list. Conundrum, nationwide, RSVP, hybrid work, bottom line, to search, to large, RTO, to scale back, bulk, banter, pants that down button, gospel, gibberish, dancing, to set in, outweigh. How many do you remember? I suggest that you write them down and make your own sentences. That's the best way to memorize them. And I also recommend that you read the rest of the article by yourself, as I said, and keep learning new words when you're reading other articles. Look them up in the dictionary, write them down, practice making your own sentences, and say them aloud. That way, you're much more likely to remember them and use them when you're speaking English. And my final reminder to you is this. When you speak English, use a strong and powerful voice. You have something important to say, so say it with confidence. Thanks for watching and keep practicing your English. And last say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.